Good morning, everyone, and welcome to American Scouser's Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser on a Wednesday morning where I am always number one greatest dads. But sadly, approximately a second or two before we went on air, I realized I forgot to put sugar. So it's going to be a rough one this morning, kids. And I did put the milk, but no sugar, unfortunately.
Nice.
But number two is here. What's happened? That doesn't sound right. But number two in the ranking.
I am number two today because yesterday there was a malfunction obviously with the CrowdStrike thing with Microsoft. We lost a bunch of stuff, and so they're transferring data. And one of the functions that I do reports on Tuesday, and one of the functions I needed went out, and they're like, "All right, just sit tight." And I was like, "Screw that, let's go on a hike." So I took my son, and we got super muddy and caught a bunch of frogs. So yeah, I feel like number two dad today.
Dude, it's amazing, by the way. I mean, it sounds like a crappy movie plot where a slight software update can turn the entire world upside down. I mean, so this is all they have to do to cyber hack us? Just update a software? I blame you and your generation, John. What's happening?
It's stupid, actually. I was just like, so this is how reliant we are on a singular company?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Like, there should be some sort of checks and balances going around where I couldn't clock in for my job. So I was like, you mean to tell me if Microsoft, there's a hiccup with Microsoft, I can't make money? Like, that's ridiculous right now, seriously. Yep. So, yeah, maybe it's my generation's fault, maybe not. Maybe it's the big guy, maybe it's Bill Gates. I don't know, man. But the fact is, it's kind of like a football thing where we're relying on one player, and if that one player gets injured, everything goes to shit. And we all know that is not sustainable.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it was just shocking. Like I said, I was telling Angel, I think, I'm like, dude, if this happened in a movie, I'd be like, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just yeah, it's shocking to hear how everything is affected. I can understand the dude in the office being affected, but when Starbucks can't sell coffee, people, that's where we draw the line.
Oh, really?
That's when the society just fucking lost it. I think they're like, what?
Well, it's using John's analogy. I used to think it was more of a Mo Salah player, but now I understand that it's more of a Thiago player, where injuries are very easy and effects for a very long time. But we were in the midst of still doing storm response too. So there was still at that point 120,000 people without power. And we were just like, well, I guess you could write it down on paper, and then when it gets back up, we'll input everything, which, slows everything down. People can't get their power on faster. And, yeah, it was a mess. I was in storm until Monday. Monday was my last day of storm.
And I think when people are not used to it, I don't know, you and I, Gordo, are probably more used to just jot it down, and then we'll answer it into the system later kind of a concept. But John over here is where I will write it down with what? What do you mean write?
Let's not go there. The last time I had to write something to have it translated into my computer, I didn't understand what I wrote. I was like, what the fuck is this? It's my own handwriting, right? It's like you don't practice with your left foot. When you try and use it, it's basically nothing, right? So that's me with my writing stroke. I don't get to use it as much anymore. So the moment I actually do it, it's like, what is this?
So obviously, since we're talking about storms and windows and everything, not a lot happening on the Liverpool side of things. But they're here. They're somewhere here. Look around you. There might be a red walking around, but they're here. Obviously, a lot of the guys are not. I mean, I think that was to be expected, right, Gordo? I just can't understand we're so happy the Reds are here, but then they're charging too much and stuff like that. Then just don't go, brother. I mean, it's preseason. I mean, what did you think? They were going to go all over there and try to kick the ass of Real Betis on,
No.
Friday? It's always the same on a preseason. I mean, we went to a game together, thanks to you, and it was just, it's just the experience. We were in Ryan's land, actually, in South Bend for that Dortmund game. I mean, it was just for the experience and stuff like that, seeing the guys, blah, 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 being there at the same time, because we don't get to do it over here on another continent. I just hear way too many complaining online.
Yeah, and even when it is a full squad, right, it's you only see them for 30 to 40 minutes anyways.
Yeah.
And you're not seeing that quality of a game. I mean, when we went to South Bend, it was like, what, 117 degrees?
Yeah, it was obnoxious. Dude,
It wasn't a good game.
Eggs on the counter. Yeah, it was bad.
So it's like you get what you expect. And I know that in like the Discord chat, we were talking about, you know, oh, you're selling the wrong product or something. And it's like, no, you bought a ticket to go see Liverpool FC.
Yep.
And that's what you're seeing. And so sorry.
Yeah.
And I mean, isn't that the shock part of it is, I guess, I don't understand, because I mean, it's the same crap in American sports too. I mean, if you go to, I guess they do a summer league or whatever. I don't know how NBA does it, but I know NFL, I mean, really, like, they even eliminated the preseason because they were like, yeah, these are kind of pointless because there's nothing. I mean, it's the same thing. You just get to see the main guys for one drive, and then it's going to be all the backups anyway. So you're just there because maybe the regular season game is even more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is that for me?
Yeah, that's for you. Take it away, John.
I'm
You were
sorry.
so Temujin, you were so still.
Yeah,
And I was like,
I
oh,
was
he froze.
Yeah. Sorry, it's a Wednesday
And
morning.
the funny thing is, on my end, I thought John froze, so we're all even.
It's midweek. I apologize. I'm barely functioning at this point. But yeah, like in your NBA analogy, no one really goes to the summer league. It's mostly journalists there from teams who cover their draft picks. Preseason, people go there because it's cheaper, right? If I talk about Warriors games to some of my friends, they go like, oh, probably preseason is the best time to go because even though Curry or whoever gets only 20 minutes, they cost like what, a dime, whereas the regular season costs like a fortune because for some new arena and all that. So yeah, it's just really weird because I went to the Liverpool Man City game a few years ago, 2018. Everyone in the arena was talking about, oh, when's Salah gonna come in? When's Mane gonna come in? And that was my first time seeing Liverpool live. So I was like, oh damn, so this is how it is. Like, I didn't really watch preseason. I wasn't as engaged to the Reds as much before the season starts. So when I went there and then watched everything, they're like, oh, okay, this is how it's gonna be. It was like Karius for one half, and Kelleher, I believe, was given his first few minutes as a Liverpool goalkeeper at the second half. Pretty good game, actually. We won 2-1, if I recall correctly, with Mane hitting the winning penalty. But yeah, like, listen, it's been done multiple times. And if you're surprised at this point, if anything's going to be done different, like, you're crazy, honestly.
And I think, like, the biggest complaint is, so everybody is like, well, we understand all of it, but then the price should be accordingly. And I hate to break the news to you guys, but they're not coming over here, so you can pay like a White Sox tickets, like $6 or something like that, to go to the game over there, like a struggling baseball team tickets. Archie says, I don't go to NBA Summer League and expect to see LeBron James. You go expect to see the rookies and young players to get a chance to shine. If anything, LeBron might be sitting to you watching his son play, and that's the only thing. Just like, they're like, oh, parents are allowed in here too. That game at Nordin was like 6-5, and I have no idea who won. I think we lost 3-2.
Dortmund won, Dortmund.
Yeah, I know. Gordo was pissed. He was screaming and yelling.
I remember. I got a beer. I think it was 3-1, and I was like, screw this, and I like left to get a beer, and I was like, under normal circumstances, I don't think I would ever have left my seat watching a Liverpool game, but it was just the players. I mean, it's impossible to play in 100-degree heat. It's just like, it was too much to ask. It was just garbage all around from both teams. It was pretty bad.
I think that preseason and the preseason that came kind of gave us like an insight into not taking preseason under Klopp. Mm-hmm. Like taking everything with a grain of salt, right? Because all he wants here is not necessarily to win, right? But then to get the timing of the press down, to get the high line down, and to get like the patterns down instead of like getting all those all those results and everything. It's curious to see what Arnie has in store. It's Friday, right? It's this Friday.
Friday is the first game.
Damn,
Friday, 6:30 my time, I guess. Prince is in the house. He's like, somebody said basketball. There's a difference between summer league and preseason, though. These are two. I still have to bring on Monday some Matouche footage of him playing basketball. Like, we're talking like vintage footage. Well, not when he's like 5, but
that's what I want to see.
It's a young, a rookie. If you win a rookie showcase, of Mateusz playing basketball.
I really should get into a podcast with Mateusz as well, like because I feel like we can talk ball, but then not in AS, right? Like because obviously,
Yeah, I mean, you guys can hang out all you want.
Yeah.
No, that's why. I mean, I know. Yeah, the summer league is more, getting the young guys and stuff like that. And there is I don't know. I honestly, I don't think I've ever watched. I barely watched regular season NBA to know how the preseason is. To be honest with you, it's probably even worse, I would think. Didn't expect anything else than what we see now. Just a bummer for the team overall, not so much the fans. Of course, this hits a nerve with our friend, the Polish Prince, because he's going to the game in South Carolina. Actually, which I mean, obviously, like people are not going to be there either way. At least I think today's game is probably the worst. I don't know if that's going to be. Not today. I'm sorry, the Friday's game, because you would think the United game is going to be full because there'll be United fans trying to see Manchester United as well. So at least there'll be more of like a environment. Rather talk crickets than boring ass NBA. Damn, that's a low bar, man. That is a low bar because cricket
is cool.
Oh, no way, dude.
Love cricket.
Cricket is
no opinion.
Makes baseball exciting. Like that's where I stand with crickets.
You gotta watch 220.
Yeah, Gordo said he thinks cricket is exciting. I actually think baseball is exciting.
Well, I mean, baseball is basically cricket with helmets. I mean,
I go to baseball game, like go to baseball games. I can't watch it on TV. It's too boring. But going there, like,
okay, here's the question: when you go to the game, are you watching the game?
65% of the time. Most of the time, most of the time, I'm trying to see how many beer cups I can stack together.
I love having it as a background while I'm doing something else.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right,
it's perfect. It's perfect as that. Like
when my brother comes, who's gonna be coming, like my nephew, I haven't like met him in person yet and stuff like that. They're gonna be here for like 2-3 weeks at the end of August. We're going to California and stuff. One of the activities we're doing is going to Milwaukee to visit Jazz when they first come in, and then we're gonna go to a Brewers game. Nice. So he's like, that should be interesting. I'm like, oh well, I don't know. I wouldn't like to. I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't like. It's gonna be an experience. That's why we're kind of like, hey, we'll go to a baseball game. You'll experience it, and you'll probably.
I can imagine Tim as like the angsty teenager, always on his phone because he's bored and stuff like that.
You got freaking room to talk. But anyway, calling me a teenager. Ryan said live baseball is fun.
You calling live baseball fun, but then not live basketball? Like, come on, Ryan.
No, actually, so here's the weird thing. I would rather watch basketball on TV because I went to a game. I went to I've only been to one Bulls game in the last 10 years. Let's just say that. I've definitely been to more than one. But I was like, this is awful. This is terrible. I did not enjoy it at all. I thought like, all right, I don't really get into basketball. I can watch it on TV. Going to a game, it's going to be like baseball. I'm going to like enjoy it more. And I really like went in with that expectation, and I did not have a good time. Of course, this is when the Bulls were terrible.
Care they have. I think that's the part that got to me at the very end, especially. I mean, that's what gets to me with same thing with baseball. That's the problem with American sports. I think is the number of games, and I think that's why NFL is NFL and college football is college football. And they're in their own separate category and world because there's a lot less games. So every game means a lot more. So it is a thing to lose. Whereas in basketball, they're like, ugh, I guess I think you guys tomorrow nights because we play again tomorrow nights in less than 24 hours kind of a thing. Well, and then, not to mention, they just fucking walked off. I was like, you're welcome. We're here. Like, I mean, the least you could do is like, we could not have been there. And it would have been the same thing as what it felt like. And I feel like as a fan, maybe we're used to it from like football, soccer, whatever you want to call it, where I feel like there's a lot more respect for the fans. It might be forced. It might be fake. I don't care. Humor me. Instead of just like shaking each other's hand and like walking the fuck off. And I'm like, hey, I'm the one who paid over here for this crappy ass game. The least you can do is acknowledge my presence.
Hey, no arguments there. I feel like.
Go ahead, John. Sorry.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say like I feel like Tim's point about players not giving a shit anymore. I feel like everyone's just on a tightrope right now because everyone's trying to get paid. With everything, I don't know if you guys caught the new NBA media deal. It's triple the media deal now, and then that's already worth $3 billion.
Wow.
So with media deals going sky high, that means salary caps are going to go sky high as well, and that means the average player, like a role player, now makes 20 million, which is ridiculous. Allen Iverson made 23 million at the highest point in his career. He's a Hall of Famer.
Wow. What
Right now, a ball player makes 20 million. So
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's insane when you put it like that.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
Wow.
obviously taking into account inflation and everything, but like everyone just doesn't want to take it too seriously because, you know, it might get injured, miss a payday, so on and so forth.
And I'm sure the ratios are like that probably in every sport. It's probably not just basketball. If you look at soccer, for example, I mean, if you look at what, I don't know, Bajcetic gets paid, it's probably, you know, if you go back 15, 20 years, it's probably like, holy shit, that guy was getting paid the same kind of a deal. But Archie's right. I mean, I think it's the same with baseball too. It's kind of like the environment and stuff like that. I mean, not in basketball, in baseball, definitely the weather and stuff like that kind of go into play. But I don't know, like we literally went to a game. I mean, I've been to a few. Some of them were like through the company and stuff like that. So we're in a box. Actually, we went to Wrigley in a box. That was fun. Until people came into the box and started talking work, and we were like, okay. And then this game sucks, so let's go. And then, of course, it was a pitcher's duel, which is their version of saying really fucking boring, over regular boring. So we left with Angie, and I think, you know, they told us what to do. I mean, Gordo is familiar, you know, like there's certain places, you know, popular places, the Cubby Bear or whatever, like before and after and all that kind of stuff. So we were doing those things that they told us we should be doing as a Cubs game experience. Of course, the moment we leave, they're like zingers all over the place, like home runs and shit. I'm like, God damn it. I think that's when Sammy Sosa was cheating the game. Those were the days. Polish Prince says, I just don't want to go to a professional sports game and have a voice telling me to chant defense or playing random. See, okay, here's my thing.
We used to, while you're laughing, for college, we used to call ourselves a drinking college with a football problem. And we used to go, the student section used to go dead quiet when it'd be like, let's do the meter. And the meter would always go up to like super loud. And you could hear a pin drop in the stadium.
That shit's corny as hell, I gotta say.
I think if it's done well, see, I thought when we went to the 49ers game, it was like the stuff was done so well. And I think for a guy who's not normally there, right? And I feel like if you're a soccer fan too, if you're a first-time soccer fan, maybe not here, but if I drop you, for example, Gordo, in the middle of Anfield, you'll be in awe in the beginning and stuff like that. But it does make it easier to get into the action initially. And then by the second quarter, we were like, we knew. So when the third down happens, they do this. When this happens, they do this and stuff like that. Whereas I would think it's probably a pretty lost feeling, Gordo, if I drop you in and they start singing certain songs and you're like,
yeah, where am I?
You're like just moving your mouth, like faking the national anthem kind of a thing. So I guess in that sense, it helps. So how do you like being told in a professional game what to do?
Well, that's why I never could get into like the MLS, because they have like the chanters, the guys with the microphone, you know? And now we're going to sing this. It's like, no, like the whole point of this is it's organic. Yeah. Someone says something and everyone starts chanting it. It's not like there's like you're a cheerleader. And then it's still like only the one section, and then they're like, section this way, and they're all silent. And it's like they're just parents with children.
Is that like a British thing, though? I feel like it started by random people throughout the stands. Like somebody starts belting it out, and then like, you know, everybody knows that like everybody jumps in. Because growing up in Turkey, they used to call them amigos, probably not culturally appropriate. But, you know, like those were the guys that would kind of stand in front. They thought they were directing the crowd. I mean, you know, the crowd already gets into certain things at certain times and you don't need them. But they were the ones that were like, come on. Like, you know, basically more like riling up the people that are not like standing up or something like that, putting the peer pressure on. But I feel like in England, it was more about some random dude in the 50th row starts belting it on, and everybody's like, I guess we're doing this. And then people start singing that.
If there's anyone that's watching right now that can tell me, I'm pretty sure that it did start at Anfield with the cop. I think
wouldn't be surprised.
There's a news article that's made it seem like it was a new thing, and it was just the fans were literally singing the Beatles like together, and they're like, this is such a unique experience here. And I don't know if they meant like this is so unique because like the entire crowd at Anfield was doing it, but I'm pretty sure that like chanting like that together as groups started at Anfield. It could just be one clip that like I've taken my own perception of it, but I'll have to look it up.
Do they even do that in baseball? Is it just get loud, or like is there anything?
They did
wake up, maybe like an alarm so that people wake up.
When I watched a Mets game once, they did like a wave organically. Like one section just started and everyone followed. Pretty fun, but then it was because the game was a blowout, so it was like, what are we gonna do?
it's like Archie.
Baseball, like get off your seat. You guys are about to fall asleep over here.
It's like Archie said though, like it has to be the game or the atmosphere, because like I've been to so many Sox games where like there's almost nobody in the stadium and it's dead silent for the whole thing. It's like, ladies and gentlemen, there's a baseball game going on. If you turn your attention to the field. But I've also been to like Sox games where it's like, we need to win this game against the Yankees in order to make the playoffs. And it's packed and it's a night game with the floodlights and it's electric and everyone's paying attention to every single stitch on the ball. And it's like a great place to be. So like going back to saying like, oh, I didn't have any fun. Like I've been to one game in 10 years. Like I'm not going to base live basketball on that one experience. Also like the United Center for me in like the heyday of the Blackhawks, like going to that stadium and feeling it that empty when I've been there so many electric nights, I feel like that changed my perception too.
Dude, like the Bulls game that I went to, we were in like it was like a company skybox, and I was like, for skybox, this is brutal. And it was like NBC's or something like that. Like it was like Menards, because they advertised kind of a deal, they would give you so many, and then like your store manager would pick certain people or something like that, and the cool kids, and then like we went, and I was like, okay, how is I hope nobody's paying thousands for this, because it felt like we were really, really far away. And of all things, they were playing the crappy Nets, who Stefan Marbury just never passing the ball. That's those what are they? It was just like, it was like a very dull experience. Occasionally, like things get going and stuff like that. But we did go to like Mateusz says United Center is trash atmosphere basketball. I think when the game is tight and stuff like that. We went to a couple of Bucks games before they were really good and it became too expensive when visiting Jazz and stuff like that. And it is a different atmosphere. It is a bit better and stuff, but that's the game that I'm talking about where they just like walked off. And I was like, hello? Like, is this thing on kind of a thing? And then they just like freaking left. So, but yeah, so anyway, big circle we're around. This is what's going to be, by the way, if you're like into any kind of random conversations like this, when we do our podathon for 24 hours, I expect a lot of this, which is happening August 10th to 11th. We're doing it for the Jamie Carragher Foundation. So if you're looking to sponsor an hour, know somebody who would want to sponsor one of those hours. We will also have like a silent auction. A lot of items are being sent from the Carragher Foundation actually for us to silent auction, along with some of our followers sending things and stuff like that. So I'm trying to see if we can get maybe like scarves and stuff like that from some of the supporter clubs, because I know some people collect that, and I think that'd be something cool to have on the silent auction as well. So we're going to be doing that, kind of like putting all the pieces together before we send all the graphics out there. But when we do the 24 hours, John, we will need you to occasionally hop in and just throw in NBA or something like that to keep it really awake.
I'd love to get in with like Mateusz or someone, or even you guys. It's pretty fun conversation. And I apologize. I think Sir Z mentioned that he's nodding off because of our tangent over there. Like, he said like, can we please just get off the basketball talk?
Oh, he's saving it for the 24-hour show. Yeah, that'll be 3 a.m. We'll be like talking about that.
I was gonna do the 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock doing cricket. I'll jump on and put everyone to bed that's still out.
If there's an American Scouser get together, I'm gonna drag Sir Z by the shirt to a basketball game and then just put him there in the seat.
We're actually working on like a Chicago one over here, so that should be interesting by itself. The Polish Prince, Gordo, and then Bickler and Galley are headed this way. So Labor Day weekend, we're trying to make that happen. Kelly says, so exciting. I don't know. We'll see about that, Kelly, around 2 a.m. How exciting is that? Let's see if you agree then. But it should definitely be interesting. We'll have obviously different contributors coming out throughout. We're working on that schedule. We'll do the live watch along for the Sevilla game at home, which will be the very, very last preseason and basically 6 games before the Premier League kicks off. It should be interesting. I'd love to hear a segment when you guys talk about rule changes you like to see. That's not bad. Hey, man, any segment ideas, send it our way. I honestly, when I first did it, people are scaring me now. I don't know what you guys think, but when I first came up with the crazy idea, I was like, 24 hours. Like, first of all, staying away 24 hours is cake. I've gone way longer and actually doing work. So I was like, that would be easy. But now, as people say, man, 24-hour streaming is going to be difficult and stuff like that, people are scaring me. So, yes, send the... See, Gordo is like, it's going to be cake.
I've got plenty of topics that'll go way off. Like, do you think that people that use 3-in-1 shampoos, are they lazy or is that effective?
Ooh, that's good. I like that. I like that. And they are not lazy. I think I have like a 4-in-1 over there. I don't even know what 4 is. But I don't even know what else it does, but it's working.
Come on, that's like a James Milner who does every role. He can technically do every role, but he doesn't do it to his best capacity, Tim. Come on.
Really? You're not wait. Hold on. I was gonna go into that. Now we have to come back to this. So you're not a 3-in-1 guy. You're a separate.
Yeah, I'm a separate because I believe in specialists.
Really?
Yeah, I believe
you have the dispenser, like body wash.
Yeah. I have the body wash, conditioner, and shampoo, and they're all exclusively because I know they do their job to the best of their ability. No one is cutting any corners. Whereas a 4-in-1, that's 4 corners cut, Tim. You get 25% effectiveness for each role.
The box-to-box midfielder of...
See, I'm telling you, this is a good... This divides... People don't even know that this divides society. It does. There's people that feel very strongly about 3-in-1s.
I mean, here's the thing. I couldn't freaking care less, but... Yeah, I mean, 3-in-1 is the way to go. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And mind you, my need for a conditioner is diminishing very rapidly, so it doesn't matter anyway. But Kelly says Gordon has the ability to run 24 hours straight. And that's the thing. Sadly, so does Gally. So we can just... I'm thinking if we get tired somewhere in the middle of the night, we can just be like, men's national team, and then just take an hour off and just have like Gally go at it. But can't trust anyone who does 3-in-1. Okay. Wait a second.
See, I told you.
Polish Prince, the model of American Scouser over here. I guarantee you, forget having a separate shampoo. He probably has 3 different shampoos. One of them strengthens, the other one shines, and the other one does this and stuff like that. The 4-in-1 is the Gomez of grooming, Serzi.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and we love Gomez over here.
Yeah, we love Gomez, but then we know that he should probably be playing his best position at some point. Probably put him at center half. We're putting him at left back.
He's just happy. Yeah. He's just happy to be in the shower. Okay.
He's in the shower with me, so that's the thing by itself. Yes, exactly.
Joe Gomez, do your magic, and then just rubs it in his.
So you can look forward to a lot of these. Yeah, we should maybe get some more other stupid debate concepts for the 24 hours.
I got tons of them.
Ryan says some of us are naturally beautiful. Am I right? Yes, you are. Yes, I am. But let's go with this over here. So this is the reason why a lot of the guys are not here, even though actually some of these people are there, like Endo and Mo and stuff like that. John, how big of a concern is this? Because this kind of explains why Van Dijk was talking the way he was after they got eliminated from the Euros. Mm-hmm. That is a lot of minutes. And I mean, Van Dijk case is special, so we can definitely address that separately in terms of not using and abusing him like we do. Because let's face it, whenever we make a lineup, it's like, who's with Van Dijk? Van Dijk is like the given there. How big of a concern is this? I realize, I mean, or let me ask you this, but how big is it a concern knowing in some ways most clubs are going to have people like this, most top clubs who have players and playing for the national teams?
Yeah, it's a big concern, and it's as big as a concern yesterday where I was watching a movie, and then when I think it was who sent this graphic? I think it was you. And then I saw it, and I actually stopped to watch that movie and looked at it. I was like, holy shit, that's insane.
What was the movie? See, now this probably have to know.
Twisters. It's great. You guys should watch it. Yeah.
What is it about? No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's we've always I think we've taken Van Dijk for granted to an extent. Since his first full season with us, we're just like, okay, Virgil, it's just a matter of who his partner is. But now we've not realized that as he's aged, his body's kind of feeling the effects of playing every single league game, playing every single Champions League game. Last year, there was a bit of a reprieve for him because we played in the Europa League, so he could have taken some games off. But then the season before that, where he kind of had a dip in form, I'm not excusing that dip in form, right? But at the end of the day, could you guys necessarily be surprised from that because of the absolute load that he's come in? Obviously, the season before he came back from injury, and before that, he was already straining himself, playing for us, repeated games over and over, week after week. So my concern is, you make a great point, and this is something that top clubs do. But then at the end of the day, like, I know I put in an article there for us to talk about. I don't know if we're going to talk about it, but Arsenal went for Calafiori, right? Yeah. Who is a pretty decent center back who could possibly replace a Saliba or a Gabriel at any given time. And that is long-term thinking. That is great. With us, I don't think we've necessarily had that kind of player. Like, obviously we had Matip, but then obviously Matip is better at that right side, and he's injury prone. And the same goes with Konate as well. So we couldn't necessarily play a guy who can replace Virgil at a regular basis at the same time. Whether that's a Klopp thing, that he doesn't want to have a Virgil replacement like every other week or something, I don't know. But then at the end of the day, we made the choice to continue playing him, and now we could possibly feel the ramifications, which is why I made a comment the other day on one of our clips. I think Virgil is going to start the season rather sluggishly, and I think we should cut him some slack, honestly.
Yeah, that's fair, I think, because, I mean, with all those minutes and stuff like that, and here's the thing, like, this is just this last season. I guarantee you, if you pull up the last 5 years, Van Dijk is probably on top in the same exact format and numbers. Actually, it might even be more numbers, because the season where we played every single freaking game, I'm sure he played more minutes than he did last year. But so having said that, though, is that why people like Gomez, I personally feel those guys are a lot more valuable, Gordo, center backs who can play out wide, or I guess vice versa, but you usually get center backs who are fast enough where they can play right back, left back, but they can provide cover in the middle. I feel like that is a very, very valuable commodity to have right now, because you don't want to have, and it is hard to bring in players who are going to sit behind other players for sure, but by you being able to play multiple positions the same way, it's a great way to build a squad.
Yeah, it's having the versatile player, and that's, I think, why we're not going to ever see Gomez in like a natural position. He's always going to be utilized, because how many players can you say can do that and do it effectively, and like have somebody slot in that, yes, they play a different style, but you don't really notice that they're in there. It's not like a weak link. So I think that is extremely important to do. Now, somebody like Virgil too, like center backs, the best center backs can usually play longer than like the best wingers. I know we were talking about you. I think it was you and Matush were talking about that. The difference between like him and Salah, where like, Virg probably has a couple more years left in him, and Salah's like probably at the max right now. Like, this is the peak. He's not going to get any better than this. It's all going to be downhill from this season on. This could be the season that he starts to dip in form too. So as long as Virg can adapt his playing style, which nothing says that he can't, because he's one of the world's best, we could utilize him, maybe not as many minutes, but not as much pulling back as we think that he's going to need. I mean, this is a guy who destroyed his knee in the middle of a season, and most players don't ever come back from that. They can play, he's world class, he'll get some minutes, he'll be useful, but he came back way better. I kept telling people, like, don't expect him to be Virg ever again. He's not going to be Virg. He's not going to be the best center back in the world. And he gave us 2 great seasons. He pulled back a little bit in terms of, his effectiveness in his second season, but that surprised me. Like, most people do not come back from a knee injury the way he did. So I think we have a world-class player in our hands, and I think we should also, like John said, cut him some slack if he starts sluggish. but also like don't get carried away with how good he is, because he is a world-class player. He will adapt his playing style, but he is aging, so we do need some cover.
Yeah, I mean, with Van Dijk, yeah, I mean, and I think when he first came back, and he was nowhere near the old Van Dijk. Obviously, he was coming straight from injury, and I think we all said, "Yep, just as we expected. He's never going to be the same guy." I don't think he's ever been as good as he was, but nobody's Benjamin Button over here like getting better as they go, especially at that age. But I think he is back to his pretty much best, I would think. Especially, I think we evaluate him now with not having a proper six in front of him, which is kind of like really a death wish for a center back when you don't have somebody protecting that back line and you are the back line and stuff like that. So I think he's been back to almost his best. And with Mo, yeah, like being a winger, obviously, that's why when we had the conversations in the past between Mo and Mane, I felt Mo would play better for longer just because he's a creator at the same time. He likes being the creator at the same time, and he doesn't have to necessarily always use his speed and agility to make things happen, because those are things that's going to obviously clearly diminish as he goes. So he's talking about this lawsuit, basically complaining about the fixture of games. The Fifth Pro is complaining that FIFA is abusing it. Actually, let me put that on the screen over here. I don't know. It's like the cynical old bastard in me, John. This basically is Fifth Pro saying, "Now these games are great. Glad to see you guys making money, but can you guys send some of those envelopes this way?"
Yeah, and they're saying this after a new Champions League format is going to be adapted soon, which has more games, stuff like that coming off from two major tournaments after a long season. In our case, for Liverpool, where we went semi-deep in a few competitions. So it's just unfortunate. Like for us fans, maybe like who are really like students of the game and who love the sport, it's great to watch a lot of games. But then for these players, you can't understand to an extent. Like this, I think. For football, this is a sport where I feel like having too many games as well, alongside American football, isn't necessarily great for the player. Like you talk about, for example, basketball has too many games. Here, I feel like that is a valid criticism. There is too many games sometimes, and I feel like for the health of certain players, and to kind of address like the gap between clubs, because more games means more clubs are going to start gearing up for said bigger games, and they're going to be expanding their squads. And for example, if a team like Liverpool or Man City or Arsenal make their squads bigger, that means less good players for like the medium tier to lower tier teams to like fish and get. That means like the parity of the league gets more top heavy, which is unfortunate. So yeah, it's for me, it's like a domino effect, which is unfortunately inevitable for the sport, because money talks, man. Money talks.
Yes, it's like smells like Super League around here. Because I mean, that's the thing, right? Because obviously FIFA is going to say, okay, you guys are getting more money for it. Make a bigger squad then.
Right.
I'm not telling you to play Van Dijk bazillion hours. Get another center back that can split the time. But go to, like John is saying, that goes back to now you're taking another layer of players off the top, and then leaving even lesser players for the rest of the soccer world, and that's where we eventually end up with the Super League at this rate.
Yeah, you're diluting the quality from game to game. I think I say we're because we are just as responsible, because we don't shut the games off, and they know that. Like Qatar, I always put the Qatar on. We complained, everybody complained, but that first ball kicked off, what was it, Qatar versus Egypt, and everybody was watching. I was watching. I watched all the games. I watched Messi lift the World Cup, and I think they know that too. And so we're just as responsible for that. But they know that it doesn't matter. The quality might go down if you can't play everybody. But they are taking advantage of a situation where our sports science is getting so advanced that these players that probably only had 10 seasons are now playing 15 seasons at the top, because they're being developed quicker and better at a younger age, and they're making their breakthroughs at 17, 18 years old, and they're playing until they're 35 because, the sports science is there. And instead of saying like, oh, the quality is going to remain, for 15 years, well, let's still make it 10, but we can get another 10, 15 games a season out of them.
Yeah. I, I don't know, man. It's just like I say. I hate to be the old crabby guy, but
Not to
that's what
not
I am.
to kind of go off on another tangent, but what do you guys think about obviously this whole thing, this expansion of the game where clubs are getting bigger and stuff? Does that make FSG's model right now of sustainability and everything?
Well,
Will
I
it?
think that's why they're like looking to buy clubs too, preferably
Right,
ones
right.
that are
But then
not
they didn't
fighting.
push through with the Bordeaux thing. So coming into the season, do you think obviously we don't have a proven world class manager at the helm now to kind of make up for some deficiencies, but maybe there might, do you guys think there might reach a point where we're gonna look at this model and say, yeah, this isn't enough anymore to compete at the highest level? Or am I speaking too soon?
I mean, I think financially it's just smarter to own multiple clubs and use them. I mean, American sports have figured it out, right? They have the minor league. NFL had the college football for the longest time in an unofficial minor league and stuff, so that you can, when you expand these squads, and look at what Chelsea is doing, getting anybody over 14 years old that can like dribble or whatever, and signing them up and stashing them. But you can only stash so many in your own club, so you need other areas to stash. I mean, I think when the Bordeaux thing did not happen, because I think they were just. I almost feel like you're kind of like shopping for a good deal too. At the same time, you want a club so that you can kind of get good value when they turn things around. I mean, let's face it, when FSG got Liverpool, it was a bargain because it was in dire straits. It was in horrible, horrible shape. Of course, all that is forgotten now somehow. Everybody assumes like all this is fine. People still bitch about FSG, but when they bought it, and I understand as business people, that is why they bought it. They weren't like, let's save Liverpool, and I think that's why they were looking at a team like Bordeaux, like do something similar, because it does sound almost like, and they did get relegated, and maybe FSG didn't bail us out. We were pretty darn close to it as well. So it's a matter of, finding a good deal. So you're almost look at it, Gordo, like they're in Best Buy looking at like the red tag stuff in the back, and we're like, I can take this, put a new hard drive in it, and boom, it's like just good as new, just good as spending the big money. But then I think just because the Bordeaux thing collapsed, it's just going to be another club in a couple of months. We're going to hear another club.
Yeah, they're still looking. I don't think that it closes the door on that idea of going through with it. And yeah, like I always laugh with the FSG stuff because like the club still owes them the money that they lent them, right? Like they literally saved this club, and the club still owes them money for it. So I'm usually on the side of FSG because of what they've done and what they've brought us, especially like I think more fans that are like that have been with us for 20 years or so. They've seen what we can be like and how close we were to collapsing. So I think that more of us give them a little bit of a pass. The other thing is I saw a stat that in Klopp's 487 games with Liverpool, you would only have to change the results of 4 games to go from 1 Premier League trophy and 1 Champions League trophy to 3 Premier League trophies and 3 Champions League trophies. And 2 of those games are Champions League final. So I think you could argue that like the model works.
Yeah, Daniel right? Gordo, first thing in the morning.
Yeah, I was like,
this is worse than not having sugar in the coffee, for God's sake. Go ahead.
But yeah, I mean, like the model works, right? If you could go in almost 500 games and only change 4 results, and get 4 more trophies, that's insane. I think, we didn't get those, and it kind of looks like, oh, we're being surpassed by Man City, but we are like, it's so close. And I think it's close enough that like, if you would have asked somebody 20 years ago if that would have been good enough, I think they would have said, well, yeah, why wouldn't you take that? How exciting.
Yeah. Archie says Ryan Reynolds has been sniffing around Liverpool recently, so maybe they will get involved with Wrexham. See, I feel like Wrexham is already, going back to the Best Buy example, it's already on the shelf and displayed at the highest price possible in some ways because the value is already there. I think they would try to create the next Wrexham in that sense, where buy a club that's low in value, that with their system. And here's the thing, right? Like if you know that you have a system in place, like this is how you run things and it works, right? it's a lot easier to take that and implement it in another club and do the, you might not get the same exact result, but you're going to get very similar results because you already have the formula. You just like putting it into another club. So it should be interesting to see. I do think they're going to go after like a different club. And yeah, going back to what you were saying, John, yeah, it's almost like it has to be the way moving forward. But that's also scary to me as well. So yeah, this is gonna be like, I shouldn't bring this up in the 24-hour thing because we'll be depressed like for freaking like 4 a.m. because I feel like down the road, yeah, like every one of these big boys is gonna own like 6 clubs, one in Italy, one here, blah blah blah, and then they're gonna be just taking their guys, moving them around, and abusing all the other clubs because they're gonna dictate all the prices. They're gonna control the market basically, but. Ugh, it's like I say, worse than no sugar in coffee. Okay, so we do have a game coming up. We did kind of talk about it on Monday in terms of like what you guys expect and stuff like that and who to watch. I know, I asked Gally and he started running with a bunch of names. So let's do only one. Who's not named Gravenberg?
He's not in the squad. He's not. I'm wondering why he's not in the squad. He didn't play a single minute.
I thought he was in the squad, isn't he?
He's not. I would have.
He's not either.
I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, if I'm not mistaken,
I'm just gonna vacation with Van Dijk. Like,
am I right that he's not in the squad?
See, I thought he was there, and people were.
No, he's not in the squad. Yeah, and I was like, "Why aren't you in the squad, boy?" Like, you played a grand total of 0 minutes. Anyway, before I get on the tangent,
but he practiced. He needs time off. Damn it, let your guy. So I guess you can't be.
Look at Sparky coming up. Yeah, look at Sparky coming up like the bat signal right there.
So give me one player you guys will be watching over these next preseason games really closely.
Vandenberg. Just because, like I think we're all on the fence because we should be able to, the club should, and he deserves a look, right? But it also sounds like he's ready to move. So I would be very interested to see, how he comes and approaches this preseason, how he's even utilized. Because more so is he going to get a lot of minutes? Is it going to look like he's somebody that Slot wants to utilize in a center back role? So we'll see.
I'm sorry as I get some cables over here, but go ahead. So Gravenberg is not there. Who do you have?
Yeah, Gordo made a great point of Vandenberg, and because we also haven't been seriously linked with a center back now. So considering how good his performance is going to be, I feel like it's going to affect some transfer, plans. But then for the sake of being different, I'll do Szoboszlai because this guy has a lot to prove coming in. Almost as much. So if I'm going to I'm going to go one step further and pick 2 of my players who have to have a good season, like absolutely must have a good season. It's himself and Darwin. And like, listen, I know it's second season for Szoboszlai, first under the new manager, but still, like the way he just coasted towards the last half of last season is not good. So any good start that he could have is going to be welcome. So it's gonna
both good shots. And I think, I'm going to go with like what Ryan is saying, Carvalho. And I think similar to Szoboszlai, I kind of want to see more. And I don't even know if we're going to see a formation and stuff like that yet, especially in the first preseason and stuff. But I do want to see where they're being utilized more than anything else. And is it fitting Carvalho, or does it just look like Carvalho is going to be around for a little bit? For an extra body to scrimmage with, and then he's going to be like passed on afterwards and be sold. Because let's face it, after Hull City and stuff like that, his value is pretty decent right now. So we would make money on him and I think move him if we wanted to. But I do want to see if he is going to be utilized in a way that suits him, because we didn't before with the club system. And same thing, I guess, goes because I think it's similar positioning wise for your boy Szoboszlai. So is that position there to get the most out of those guys, or are we trying? Because here's the thing, I feel like Szoboszlai has the ability to kind of morph himself to whatever Slot needs if it's a different position. I don't get that same sense with Carvalho, so that's why I feel like Carvalho is either really good, like Hull City, like Fulham, or really bad, like us and Leipzig. And I don't even know if it's fair to call him really bad with us, but that's mainly because he didn't fit the system. And I think the similar thing happened in Leipzig. Whereas if it fits him, if you can kind of design it to revolve around him, kind of like what Hull City did, and before that how Fulham was, I think then you have a good player. So let's see what Slot is looking to do with him. But The good news is a couple more days over here, and we'll be able to talk about actual games. Because God knows there's no transfers to talk about. So at least not for Liverpool base. So I'm not even doing those predictions anymore. But we'll call it a day for today. We'll be back. The boys will be back tomorrow night on the Thursday night podcast. I don't know if the fantasy nerds are back yet, but I know the league is about to be published, so we'll share that code and everything like that, so you guys can get in there early and take your seats. I know it's already been reactivated, but we just got to send out the code over here so everybody can sign on if you are not already. And then I'll be back Friday morning with the Loud Gang. This is the Chill Gang over here on a Wednesday. So, hey, everybody, have a great Wednesday. And do not forget about the fundraiser. If a company, it can be a person, but we are looking for people to sponsor the hours. And there's freaking 24 of them, people. So there's enough to go around. So send us a message. Directly contact me if you would like. And then we'll get things rolling. Have a great day, everybody. Take care.